I remember the first time I met Josh and then later Nancy. It was before Josh and Nancy joined our congregation. Everyone gave Josh a hard time about his hair and how much energy and product he brought on a trip that we had all gone on to from the Federation, a men's group, to Poland. They all saw that perspective and they ribbed him a little bit. He took it like a champion. That's not what I saw when I spent time with Josh. What I saw walking through the camps of Auschwitz and Birkenau and the history of Warsaw and the ghetto of old was I saw a man that opened up his eyes and his heart and his soul to a piece of our history and was committed to strengthening our future because of it. Since that trip, I've been blessed to go on other trips with Josh and with Nancy and to learn about who they are and what they're about, to unpeel the onion of their family and their passions and their history. And I have seen that very characteristic underscored time and time again. It was Josh who I held and held me as we walked through Kfar Aza and what were the ruins of just absolute chaos and destruction after the horrors of October 7th. We wiped tears from each other's cheeks because we saw in that very moment the depravity of humanity, but also the strength of what our community could do in a moment to heal. In the time that I've gotten to know Nancy, I think Josh is one of the luckiest people in our entire world to get to call Nancy his best friend and his wife. Nancy is incredibly smart and kind and wise, but her heart is unparalleled. She is always rolling up her sleeves and giving to people who are less fortunate and making a difference in the world. She's done that at our Jewish family and children's services. She's done that for people in our very own community in the most quiet way, never looking for attention, never looking for fanfare, always saying, what can we do to make a difference on the side? How can we help? And what greater gift could a rabbi ask for in congregants than people who are always stepping up, who have this great sense of emotion and open-heartedness, and who want to make a difference just for the sake of making our world better, not for recognition, not for celebration, but because it's the right thing to do. When all of that isn't going down in the world, when we're not crying at places of memory and we're not rolling up our sleeves to help people in Ukraine or in our backyard, you can probably see Josh standing in a white tuxedo jacket, coming up with his own rap to celebrate his daughter's weddings, and Nancy smiling from ear to ear with a little bit of blush in her eye too at the songs that he came up with. But I think that's just indicative of the kind of dad and mom that they are. Incredibly proud of their amazing children, embracing the family as it grows, and equally important, always looking to have fun, bring a smile to people's faces. In a world that's so serious, we can all afford that. I'm going to ask Josh if he'll lead us in a rap tonight. Maybe that can bring a little bit more levity to our world and a little bit of smile to all of our faces. Josh and Nancy, you honor us by allowing us to honor you. You bring strength to us every day, and you are a blessing to this congregation and to all of Israel, to all of humanity. I pray that God continue to look after you both, that God protect you both, that God keep you both, and that you have reasons to inspire us today, tomorrow, and always. Mazel tov to you both.
So Josh and I have been married for 36 years, and it is the single best
Happily married.
Happily married for 36 years. It is the single best decision I ever made in my life.
And family is very important to us. Obviously, we have two beautiful daughters who recently married two lovely young men, and the six of us together have a great time. We are a strong family unit, and that's a very, very important part of our lives. I grew up in a Reform temple in South Florida called Temple Solel, which I think was Temple of the Sun, but no one really knew that back then. That's where I was bar mitzvahed, and I married Nancy, who was more religious than I was, and started bringing me closer to my Judaism. But then when I joined Temple Emanu-El, it woke me up in some way. I mean, it connected me to Israel for a variety of reasons, And through all the sermons and, different experiences I've had, it really helped me understand and appreciate my Judaism. And I think everybody approaches it different ways. And I'm very comfortable and have a good feeling about my Judaism now that I didn't have, obviously, when I was 13, but probably didn't have before I joined the temple.
So my father was raised in an Orthodox home, as was my mother. And my father just had a beautiful way of being true to his devotion to his Judaism, which was a very important part of who he was. He would go to shul with his brother often, and he would say Saturday was his favorite day because he loved his business and he loved his Judaism and prayer and being part of, the Jewish world, and that was really important to him. And I wondered how that was going to translate into my life. And, when we joined Temple Emanu-El, we joined a little bit later. Our girls were not bat mitzvahed here, but we were both looking for a little bit more spiritual connection. And Josh went on the men's mission, and that, before we were members, and came home from that and said, we have to join this temple, and we did. And it has just really strengthened our connection to Judaism, the importance of what that all means to us, and we're grateful for that.
In 2008, I went on a men's mission. A lot of my friends were on this trip. It was probably 50 guys or something. And it was 2008, it was the 60th anniversary of the State of Israel. And honestly, I wasn't a member of the temple then. My friend Clive Gershon made a movie from our trip, and we went to Auschwitz first, and I remember crying, but thinking about how the Nazis tried to eliminate us and failed. And you were looking at this devastation, but in the end, we're still here and they're not.
When I walk into the temple and I walk into this beautiful sanctuary, I'm always filled with a feeling of awe at how beautiful the stained glass is, all the stained glass of all the founders who came before us. And it just when I walk into the room and I look up on the bima and I see, the faces of the clergy and the rabbi and the cantor, it just is a very warm, welcoming feeling. And it really, this sanctuary inspires reflection and really thoughtfulness. And, I love seeing my friends and the community at large and just really, really feeling part of something bigger than just me and my family. And it's a privilege to pray here.
When I walk into the temple, I'm usually, are we late? Is it going to be freezing in there today? Is somebody going to call on me and ask me to read something in Hebrew that I'm not familiar with? I'm a little anxious. But then once I get settled in and get the rhythm going, I feel an opportunity to reflect and sit and relax. And I like to read the English sections of what we're reading in Hebrew and think about things. And usually by the time, 15, 20 minutes have come along, there's been some interesting discussions already, and it makes me feel good. We sat with Rabbi Kirshner many years ago and talked about what things we could do to help the temple. And he was telling us that he wanted to get a program set up for couples who are about to get married, basically a marriage therapist before they got married, to discuss sensitive issues that couples experience. And we said this would be a great thing for us to support. So the temple is helping young couples preserve their long-term relationship and expand our Jewish community. So we thought that was very important to us. And that's one thing an example of how the temple reaches out to the community, not just right now, but into the future. It's amazing. When we go to celebrations and you see a lot of young people here and people with small children, Kirshner's always welcoming babies in the sanctuary. Some people are like, oh my God, that kid's making noise. He's like, he gets it. This is what we're supposed to be about, a growing congregation. As a business person, I never am a guy that would swing for the fences. I'm a singles and doubles guy. And so I think the temple is really, every year, takes steps forward to do different things, to expand different things, add different things, and I thought they've done a tremendous job. And we've had tremendous leaders at this temple. I think we just keep doing what we're doing, and the success will continue to come.
So I think that Josh and I are immensely humbled by this honor, and we just want to say thank you for everything that we have gotten. We feel like we're being honored for giving back, but we really feel like it's really what we have been able to get from the temple that is most resonant. So,
thank you. It was very, very nice. We don't deserve it. We're just regular customers here, but we appreciate it.